In this video, we're going to look at another example of finding the inverse of a function, and let's review the steps again. You're going to have to memorize these 4 steps, and that's, sometimes with math you have to memorize things. We're used to doing that with history, and you might have to memorize a date, or in science you might have to memorize some formulas or some facts about cells and vocabulary. The same thing's true with math. You want to memorize what are the steps for finding the inverse of a function as far as the equation. First step, substitute y for f of x. Second step, switch the x and the y. Third step, solve for y. Fourth step, substitute f inverse of x back in for y. Alright, so memorize those. Spend some time, put them on a note card, whatever you got to do. Let's look at the function f of x equals x cubed plus 3. Now, as you may have heard in other videos or read in your book, not every function has an inverse. Just to give you some little shortcut tricks, if the function has an x cubed in it, it has an inverse. Well, if it has an x cubed and just a constant, it has an inverse. And you're going to see these a lot. If the function, let me just write another one down here, looks like a line, f of x equals mx plus b, like 4x minus 2, or f of x equals 2x plus 1, or f of x equals negative 2/3 x, or f of x equals negative 4/5 x plus 17. Those are all lines. Y equals mx plus b, f of x equals mx plus b. Those all have inverses. So you're going to be able to find the inverse of those. And I have a video up about finding the inverse of a function like this. If you have an equation that has a cubed in it and then some constant like this, you're going to be able to find the inverse. Other examples of that would be f of x equals x to the third minus 1, f of x equals 2x to the third plus 12, etc., etc. Okay, those are common ones you're going to find the inverse. If it has a squared in it, oops, I don't want to erase my original one. If it has a squared in it, like f of x equals x squared, remember that graph is a parabola. This will be a little sloppy, but that's okay. And it goes like this through the origin. That graph is a function because it passes the vertical line test, but it's not a one-to-one function because it doesn't pass the horizontal line test. So that means it doesn't have an inverse function. So if you're given a squared function, there's going to be some restrictions on it, and maybe I'll do another video on that, but I just wanted to kind of give you a heads up that most of them that you're going to see, the most common ones, are going to be an x cubed with a constant or some linear function. But, we could probably look at a parabola one later on with some restrictions. Alright, let's jump into this and let's follow our steps. Step number 1, substitute y in for f of x. Easiest step there is. Y equals x cubed plus 3. Step number 2, switch the x and the y. So I got a y here, I'm going to change that to an x. I have an x here, I'm going to change that to a y. I still keep to the third power plus 3. Everything stays the same. I just switch the x and the y. The cubed stays exactly where it is, over here on the right hand side. Everything stays where it is except the x and the y switch places. Step number 3, solve for y. That means we have to get y by itself. We need to minus 3 from both sides, and then we're going to have to deal with this cube here to get rid of that. Minusing 3, that's pretty straightforward. We get x minus 3 equals y to the third. Now I got to get rid of this to the third power. So the opposite, or undoing something that's being taken to the third power, what will accomplish that is a cubed root. Cubed root, just like that. Cubed root. What is the cubed root of y to the third? Well, that's just y. If it was a y squared, we'd take the square root. If it was a y to the fourth, we'd take a fourth root to change it into just y. So that gives us y equals the cubed root of x minus 3. And y is by itself. That accomplishes step 3. Step number 4, we substitute f inverse of x in for y. That would give me the cubed root of x minus 3 equals f inverse of x. And that's basically it. I could rewrite it like this, and f inverse x equals cubed root x minus 3. Like that, no problem. And that's it. So your original function, f of x equals x cubed plus 3, has the inverse function of the cubed root of x minus 3. All right, why don't you try one? Let's see. Why don't you find the inverse of f of x? Let's do a cube one again. F of x equals 2x cubed minus 1. So why don't you pause the video right now, and then when you're ready, just hit play, and I'll give you the answer, and you'd see how you did. All right, hopefully you did got it right. Let's see. Here's what I got. F inverse of x equals the cubed root of x plus 1 over 2. And I know there's a rational, we could rationalize the denominator here, but I'm not going to worry about that. Hopefully you got that right. And if you have any questions, you're not sure how to get that, go back and follow these steps again. Make sure you did number 1, did number 2, 3, and 4 in order. And if it's still not quite making sense to you, go ahead and drop me a comment, and I'll see if I can help you out.